Hi folks, how are you doing? Everything is okay? Welcome to another video. These days, many people are looking to become more attractive in order to impress others more and have a high charisma. And unfortunately, many people see charisma only in an attractive face and a certain set of morals. While in psychology, it is not like that at all. They say you should ask something from someone that knows about it. And today we are going to go together to three of these elders who have something to say in this regard. That is Friedrich Nietzsche, Carl Jung, and Sigmund Freud, who I don't think need to be introduced to you, dear ones. So without delay, we are going to review the great advice of these big three. You can be sure that if you follow until the end of the video, you will be able to impress everyone with these techniques, especially the opposite sex. So keep the pen and paper by your side as we are going to learn a lot today. Advice number 1. Nietzsche says beware of him who fights with monsters, because he may eventually become a monster. And the first step in order to be able to have a charisma and high self-confidence, we must learn that we should not argue with people who have moral problems or are rude, and we should not get involved with them. A person who has a politeness and charisma when he starts to fight with rude people, even as arguing and generalizing, he will finally get his negative influence. In the other words of George Bernard Shaw, never wrestle with pigs, because he is the one who will win. Because it is this pig that likes mud and dirt. And when you hang flowers with someone and want to argue with him, you will bring yourself down to his level. So the first step is to know who to argue with and who not to argue with. According to Sigmund Freud, the only person who should compare ourselves to is who we were in the past, and the only person we should be better than is who we are now. And in the one place, Freud points out that before you know whether you have depression or self-esteem, you are short of breath. First, make sure you are not surrounded by a bunch of idiots. Advice number 2. Actions are more important than words. Carl Jung says you are what you do, not what you say. It doesn't matter how much the people around you bluff about themselves to impress you. In the end, you look at the results of those people and their actions. When someone is talking to you about financial success but has a very scrap car or is not willing to buy a new dress, you can understand what is right and what is wrong. Of course, this was just an example, and the opposite model is also true, and it is not necessarily true. Not only you, but everyone else will be fascinated by what you actually do, and not just what you say, especially in the attraction of the opposite sex. Those who see that your words are the same as your actions will be attracted to you. People with high charisma know when to express their emotions and do not overdo it. As Nietzsche says, in most cases the expression of feeling forces love to grow too much so that it is weakly rooted and ready to fall apart. And according to Freud, friendship is the art of keeping distance, while love is the art of intimacy. Advice number 3. Learn to be alone. What does that mean? Does loneliness also want to be right? Now I will explain to you. Jung says loneliness does not mean not communicating with others, but rather the inability to communicate with the things we love. Many times we expect a charismatic person to be proud and attractive. Or in other words, an eagle is always alone and so on. You know that being alone is not always good. As Carl Jung pointed out, being alone doesn't necessarily mean pride. Sometimes it is us who cannot communicate properly, especially with the opposite sex. So what should we do? Many people think that if they have a relationship with many people and are crowded around them, many people are cool and have high charisma and they get false self-confidence. But according to Jung's own words, these are the people who are more afraid of facing themselves and are willing to spend a lot to avoid facing themselves. Like gathering people around, Nietzsche says that the fewer friends a person has, the more time he has to be alone with himself and the happier he feels. So we should be careful to learn how to be alone properly, when to be alone and when to be with others. Advice number 4. Be honest with yourself. Sigmund Freud always points out that being honest with yourself is a great exercise. When you can become attractive, when you can see your flaws and accept them, fix them and wear them like armor. Don't let anyone use it against you. A person who has charisma is perfect, and a person who is perfect is not someone who has no faults and has understood the shadow personality that Jung's work always talks about. Shadows are our repressed thoughts and feelings. That man must always face them and be able to shed the skin. According to Nietzsche, a snake that cannot shed its skin deserves to die. Also, minds that refuse to change their minds are no longer useful. So don't go away from yourself. Know yourself. Accept it and continue being true to yourself, and then you will see that people will fall in love with you. As the saying goes, we cannot change something until we accept it. Before number 5, let's discuss a few sentences of these elders about communication and marriage. Friedrich Nietzsche. Feeling good in marriage means feeling good about your spouse's shortcomings. Someone who is not capable of love or friendship, of course marriage makes its condition. The only thing that makes marriage unhappy is not the lack of love, but the lack of friendship. Sigmund Freud. Jealousy is destructive. Don't be tempted and live by your own law. We are never as vulnerable to suffering as we are to love. According to Jung, any form of addiction is bad, whether it is drugs, alcohol, morphine, or perfectionism. A person who is afraid needs dependence, like a weak person who needs support from others. And advice number 5. Control your emotions. Carl Jung says, if someone wants to live your life, don't stand in their way. Because by doing this, you prevent the coming of the person who is on the way, and elsewhere it is said that a person who has not passed through the hell of his emotions has never overcome it. We must be able to control our emotions, otherwise our emotions will control us, and like a baby rabbit hopping around, it will surrender its fate to something we have no idea about. Contrary to the definition of charisma, charismatic people, especially in front of the opposite sex, control their emotions and move forward step by step. This expression of feelings, if accompanied by extremes, cause destruction, because if we overdo it, people will avoid you. The line between being charismatic and arrogant is very thin in people's eyes. So you have to be careful, and if we do too little or too much in this matter, as Sigmund Freud says, unexpressed feelings never die. They are buried alive and will come out in uglier ways later. So we should be careful about overdoing and underdoing. Okay guys, thank you for always encouraging us with your support. Please like, comment and subscribe our channel. See you soon!